What is up, everyone? It's Quinn here, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the best draft strategy if you are picking in the middle of the first round, so the 105 through the 108. Going to be talking about some of the best early round targets, and then diving into 4 different mock drafts, one from each pick, so the 105, 106, 107, and 108. And I actually think this is a really interesting kind of pocket of the draft because it contains my favorite first round picks and then also my least favorite, where I really like the 105, 106. I'm not a huge fan of the 107, 108. So hopefully this video helps you guys go out there and, feel confident going into your drafts. But now let's look at some of the early round targets. And starting off here in round 1, this is going to be color coded. So guys in green are players I think are really strong picks. Guys in yellow, I'm fine with them in this range. Red, just not interested, at this spot. So looking at the middle of the first round, the reason why I like the 105 and the 106 is typically you're going to see one or both of Jahmyr Gibbs and CeeDee Lamb available. Now, those guys are my 103 and my 104, so if I can get a mid-round one, I think those are really solid picks. That's why I have them in green. The reason why I don't love the 107 and the 108 is because after that tier break where you have Gibbs, Jefferson, Lamb, who I think are all really strong picks in this range, there's not a clear like 107, 108. Now, I did have Puka as a pretty clear 107, but I'm starting to fade off of that a little bit. Not saying I don't have him at the 107 or the 108, but there is some concern here with Matthew Stafford's back injury. Then CMC, I'm fine with him at the 107 or the 108, but it definitely doesn't feel like a screaming value, which is why I have, CMC, Puka in yellow. And then I also have Malik Neighbors in yellow because if you are concerned about the Matthew Stafford injury, then I don't think it would be crazy to go Malik Neighbors at the 108 if CMC is off the board. Then you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Ashton Genty, just would not be considering those guys in the first 8 picks of the first round. Now, looking at round 2, I think this is a really fun kind of pocket of the second round where you can get some really, really fun values. So if you have guys like Brian Thomas Jr., Brock Bowers, A.J. Brown fall into the mid-second. I think those guys are all really strong picks. I think according to consensus ADP, Achane is the 202, but if you get him fall into the 205, 206, I also think he is a great pick. And then you still have just some solid mid-round 2 picks without a crazy value, like a Drake London, Jonathan Taylor, Ladd McConkey. I think these are all fine options in this range. And then Josh Jacobs, Bucky Irving, just not super in on these guys in the mid-round 2 area. Bucky, feel totally fine about him, late round 2. Josh Jacobs, more of a round 3 pick for me. And now moving into round 3, I do think this is another spot where you can get some really, really fun picks. So a lot of guys in red, some dudes in green here. We have 303 Kyren Williams. I just don't really love Kyren in the 3rd round. T. Higgins, Tyreek Hill, these are guys that I'd be considering 2-3 turn. I think getting them in the middle of the 3rd round is super fun. Chase Brown, I think, might be 302 according to consensus, but on different platforms, he might be available here. I think he is a great pick. I think Devontae Adams going at the 310. I actually like Devontae Adams as a mid-round 3 pick. And then you do have JSN, Garrett Wilson. I just don't love their upside at the wide receiver position to go this early. Jaden Daniels, mid-round 3 is where I'd consider Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. So Daniels not quite there. I'm not going to say Kittle's a terrible pick in the middle of the 3rd, but I would kind of prefer him in the late round 3, maybe early round 4 area. I will say I have guys like Amarian Hampton and Breece Hall kind of ranked in this range. They're typically not going mid-round 3. I mean, Hampton's going round 4, maybe round 5, but they are players where if I had one singular draft, I would consider them in this mid-round 3 spot. But now let's dive into some of the mock drafts, and we are going to start off with the 105, and this is actually a mock draft I showed in my last video talking about the best draft position, and I think this is a really fun one with a really, really strong team. So through 3 rounds, we're just going best player available. I go Jahmyr Gibbs, Brock Bowers, Chase Brown, 2 stud running backs, the tight end one, in my opinion, in Brock Bowers. A really, really fun start. Then we hammer the wide receiver position. We go Xavier Worthy, Tedoroa McMillan, Chris Olave, Roma Dunze, Josh Downs, and Emeka Egbuka. 6 straight wide receivers. Some young options who I do think have some higher ceilings. Xavier Worthy, Ted McMillan, potential year 2 Roma Dunze breakout. But then Chris Olave, an established option. I think Josh Downs at this point is pretty established, wide receiver 28 in points per game last year. Then we go running back in 4 of the last 5 rounds with J.K. Dobbins to be our RB3, Bashal Tutin, Dylan Sampson, Jarquez Hunter, and then Justin Fields is, easily my favorite late round quarterback. I've talked about this a lot. I think he comes with a lot of upside. As long as he is on the field, I feel very confident with him as my fantasy quarterback, and we get him in round 11. So just kind of recapping this team, kind of a double hero RB build. really strong RB1, really strong RB2, obviously a great tight end here with Brock Bowers. And then even though we did wait at the wide receiver position, I like our depth. I do think some of these guys could pop and be some really fun options. And then Justin Fields, if we are going to wait at quarterback, I feel good about him being our quarterback one. Now this next draft, another one I talked about in that best draft position video, the 106. This is once again best player available. We go CeeDee Lamb 106. We go Jonathan Taylor 207. I actually think I have Vlad McConkey ranked one spot higher than JT, but I didn't want to get into a position where I was kind of stuck with no running backs. So I went Jonathan Taylor in the second. We go mid-round 3 T. Higgins, which I love the value on that pick. We go 407 Amarion Hampton. If Hampton's available in the middle of the fourth, it's just going to be an easy draft pick for me. Like I talked about, like I have him in my personal rankings ranked like mid to early round 3. So going into the fourth, 407, it's an easy pick. We go back-to-back wide receivers with George Pickens, Travis Hunter. We get an RB3 and Tony Pollard in round 7. This also could have been Caleb Johnson. I just felt like with another rookie in Hampton, wanted more of like an established veteran option with Tony Pollard. We go round 8, Juwan Jennings, round 9, Kyler. Kyler I wouldn't consider as like a late round quarterback option, but of I guess like the mid-round options when you're looking at like Baker, Bo Nix, guys like that. Like Baker went at the 606 here. Give me 906 Kyler over 6-round Baker all day. I would take Kyler straight up over him. So 3-round discount, pretty easy pick there. We go Darnell Mooney as our final wide receiver. We go late round tight end in Tucker Kraft, and then close it out with 3 running backs here: Braylon Allen, Trey Benson, and Roschon Johnson. So once again, I really like this team. Feel good about Kyler at the quarterback spot. Strong through our 2 running backs with JT Hampton. Really, really strong wide receiver room with CeeDee Lamb, T. Higgins, George Pickens, Travis Hunter, Juwan Jennings, Mooney. Got some of these like younger upside plays, or I guess one of those with Travis Hunter, but also like some established proven options. Juwan Jennings, Mooney is really solid depth. CeeDee Lamb, I think, could be in contention to be the wide receiver 1, and then T. Higgins was just the wide receiver 5 in points per game last season. So those are the 2 spots where I really like to pick. The spots that I'm not quite as crazy about, the 107 and the 108, let's take a look at how those mock drafts went. And I actually think this one from the 107 is pretty decent. Like we go CMC at the 107. Like I said, I feel like the 107 pick is kind of up in the air where it could be Puka, it could be CMC, maybe it's Malik Neighbors, especially in PPR scoring. But in this one, I did go with Christian McCaffrey. Then I went Brock Bowers at the 206. Really do like getting an elite tight end there in the middle of the second round. And then we get a really solid value on a 307 Tyreek Hill. So this start, especially in like round 2 and 3, are pretty similar to what you could be looking at if you're picking at the 105, 106. It's just that I don't feel quite as confident in Christian McCaffrey as I do with like a Jahmyr Gibbs or a CeeDee Lamb. Obviously the ceiling is there, but there's still some real risk with drafting Christian McCaffrey. Then this is going to be another round 4 Amarion Hampton team. Then we go wide receiver with George Pickens, Jalen Waddle, Rome Odunze, Josh Downs. We go Cam Scatabo, the 907. Our last wide receiver with Jaden Higgins at the 1006. Caleb Williams, another late round quarterback who I'm interested in. Plus you kind of stack him with Rome Odunze. And then 3 straight running backs with Ray Davis, Tyler Algier, and Braylon Allen. So I do think this team actually came together pretty solidly. Like CMC, Hampton, RB1, RB2, feel good about that. Wide receiver room, good depth, maybe not super top heavy, but Tyreek Hill I do think has a lot of upside, especially for a round 3 pick. Elite tight end, feel good about Caleb Williams. It does just seem like picking, at the 107, I think you're a little bit less likely to get that smash pick at the 307, where the guys I'm typically targeting in that range are like Tyreek Hill, T. Higgins, Chase Brown, also Trey McBride if he somehow slips there. But I think the later you're pushing it into round 3, the less likely it is that you're going to land one of those dudes. But alternatively, the more likely it is that you're going to get a really solid option in round 2, where maybe you're getting, a Brock Bowers, a falling BTJ, AJ Brown in the mix, maybe Devon Achane is slipping, and I think those are all really interesting picks in round 2. And then the final mock draft here from the 108, this is where you can see we have that really strong round 2 pick. So in this one, I went with Puka Nacua. Like I said, could be CMC, could be Puka, could be maybe Neighbors. I go Puka at the 108 here, just hoping Matthew Stafford's back is fine. Then I get a 205 Achane. Now, Achane I'd be willing to take early round 2, so getting him here at the 205, feel really strong with that pick. And then this is going to be another Tyreek Hill team. If I'm getting Tyreek Hill to fall to the 308, it's going to be an easy pick. I know he comes with a lot of risk. Older wide receiver, coming off a down season, but If it was the wrist injury, and this is a very similar player to what we saw 2 years ago, where he's averaging over 23 points per game, you just got to take that swing in round 3. Then we actually get a fun value in the 4th round with George Kittle falling to the 405. Now, if Kittle didn't fall here, this still could have been an Marion Hampton pick. I think he went late round 4. Could have been Kenneth Walker. You also could be in the mix for like Marvin Harrison Jr., Mike Evans, guys like that. We go 2 more wide receivers, 2 rookies actually, with Tedero McMillan and Travis Hunter. Do just like the upside of these young rookie picks. We actually get another Tony Pollard team, this time to be our RB2, just an established veteran. Feels like you kind of know what you're getting out of him, like that fringe RB2 production. Get our last 2 wide receivers with Stephon Diggs, Emeka Egbuka, 3 wide receivers, but also 3 kind of established veterans. Then we go J.K. Dobbins round 10. I think in a team that's, not super strong, especially depth-wise at running back, I think getting J.K. Dobbins, who can be productive, especially early on in the season, is a fun option. We go round 11, Drake May, kind of getting that pair with Stephon Diggs, but even without Diggs, I do like May as like a later round pick. My best player available would have been Fields, but wanted to kind of mix it up a little bit. Then we go Bashal Tutin, Dylan Sampson, 2 young rookie running backs. Fun options, especially later on in the season. Sampson actually might be productive right out of the gate in week 1. And then this last pick could have gone to a few different positions. I went with Trevor Lawrence here, round 14, just getting a solid quarterback. I do think T-Law is going to have a career year. Plus, we have Travis Hunter. So if Hunter's balling out, it's likely that Travis Hunter is probably doing the same. So a little recap of this team here. Quarterback, obviously not super strong, but with Drake May, Trevor Lawrence, you feel decent about one of those guys kind of popping. Running back, not super strong, but I do like HN as our RB1. Pollard's playable as an RB2. You got J.K. Dobbins, who I think will be solid early on. And then you're just going to kind of churn the waiver wire for some handcuffs, guys in committees, stuff like that. But the wide receiver position here, really, really strong. You have Puka Nacua, who is a stud. Tyreek Hill, who I think comes with a lot of upside. You have these rookies who could certainly pop. And then, on the bench, you have like Stephon Diggs, who could, bounce back from this torn ACL and be a solid number 1 target for the Patriots. And then Emeka Egbuka, who I'm just going to draft a ton of. He's a super talented prospect. Chris Godwin not practicing yet. He's getting rave reviews out of camp. I think one way or the other, Emeka Egbuka is going to be very fantasy relevant. And then just closing it out with, some of that decent running back depth. But that is going to wrap it up for these 4 mock drafts for this video. Like I said, I think the middle of the first round is a really interesting spot to pick where you can have some really fun starts. It can also feel a little bit gross, a little sketchy when you're picking 107, 108, but you can still put together some solid teams. Hopefully I, showed that to you guys in this video. But if you guys are picking the middle of the first round, hopefully you go out there, smash your drafts. Good luck to you guys, and I will see you in the next one.